What's up, crew? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. Today I've got for you a Master Duel build for Bujin Bystials. I wanted to stick with that Bujin Bystial type of list because I've really been enjoying it in my TCG build. The problem is, a lot of the cards that make that version of the deck really powerful, in my opinion, don't exist in the game. So like E2 to the Branded, Galaxy Photon Dragon giving you access to Photon Sanctuary and Numbers Last Hope, a couple extra deck monsters that we just don't have access to a Master Duel, and so I built it around those limitations, and it still works pretty well, especially if you play it as a going second deck. It's like a soft going second deck. If you end up going first, it still functions the same way, but going second's not really a bad thing, especially in a best of one format. So we'll get right into it here. First off, triple Torifu in your main starter. Tribute it to summon 2 Bujins from your deck, one of your Bujingis, one of your Bujin Beast Warriors. Probably going to be Mahitatsu and whichever Bujingi you want access to, depending on who you're playing against. If you're going first, you don't know, you're probably going to go with Hare or Turtle. If you're going second, you know what you're playing against, and you have some removal options that you can search for. We've got triple Harume, great extender for the deck. Banish a Bujin monster from your graveyard to special summon it from your hand, and you can do it multiple times. You just can't have 2 of them on the field at once, so you can banish, summon it, link it, or Xyz summon with it. Search a new one, summon it again, just keep going from there. And then to go along with the Harume, we've got double Arasuda. When a Bujin is banished, it can special summon itself from your hand. So this can be triggered by Haruko's effect to banish itself, Harume's effect to banish one to special summon itself, Mahitatsu's effect to banish one to Foolish Burial, and the Bystial's effects to banish to special summon themselves. So easy card to play in this deck. I would even consider bumping it to 3. If you were to do that, you probably cut like the Crane out and put the third Arasuda in there, but I just really wanted to play the Crane in this build. I haven't played Crane in a while, so I forced it in, but probably 3 and 0 there. This is also a really good like follow-up search target once you go through your like standard combo with this deck. If you get an extra search, you would search this and have this in a Bystial on hand, because then when you activate the Bystial effect to summon it, this will summon itself, and then you have your level 10 to make your Chaos Angel. We've got 2 Haruko. I think this is good at 2. This is your rank up, so you activate it in the Pendulum Zone, use its effect to banish itself, target a Bujin Xyz you control, and then essentially just change it into a different Bujin Xyz. So you're going to go Susanoo almost every turn if you can. Then you're going to either make Amaterasu to special something from your Banish Zone, or you're going to make one of the other 2 depending on the board state. We've got our 2 Mahitatsu, so it has an extender effect. You can discard a Bujin card from your hand to special summon this card. What we want it for is its second set of effects. So you can either send a Bujin monster from your hand to the graveyard to take one out of your graveyard, put it back in your hand, so you could like exchange a Bujingi for like one of your extenders to use again, or you're going to more often than not use this second one. You can banish a Bujin out of your graveyard to Foolish Burial a Bujin from your deck. So you're going to banish like the Torifu that you tributed to summon this thing from your deck, and then you're going to send one of your Bujingis that you think is going to be most useful for whatever game you're playing. So excellent card to summon. I wouldn't say to play more than 2, just because it's not a great extender, because it requires that discard, where these ones do not, and they just work better in my opinion. And then for the Bujingis, we got 1 of on everything. The one Sinew, because it acts as like a Crane or an Honest in the graveyard. Banish itself, gain attack like Honest, and then damage is cut in half. Crane doubles the attack of a Bujin Beast Warrior. Quillen can pop a face-up card on the field. Centipede can pop a spell or trap on the field. Hare can protect one of your Bujin Beast Warriors from being destroyed once that turn. And Turtle can negate a targeting effect, which is super relevant. There's a lot of things that target. In particular, one that almost everybody plays is this one right here, Imperm. You can stop an Imperm with a Turtle, so absolutely play the Turtle. It is one of the best Bujingis. I think it's probably my favorite one, and I'm dumping this with Mahitatsu pretty much every single game, unless I'm going second and there's a very particular situation I'm trying to deal with. As I mentioned earlier, Crane's probably the one that you need the least. The reason I did find it useful is because you could end on a board with Susanoo pretty easily in this build, and when trying to grind up enough material to like craft all of the cards, I just didn't have all the extra deck stuff. So having the Crane with the Susanoo gave me like an option to Crane over something big and then wipe a board behind it, because it can attack everything. If you have the full extra deck, you probably don't need this very much at all. And then for the Bystials, I think people are pretty familiar here. Lubellion, discard it to search one of the other Bystials, summon it from your graveyard by tributing one of your Bystials, and then search your Branded Regained. I felt 1 was fine because Small World can search literally any monster in this deck as long as you have a monster in your hand. That is 100% a true statement. If you have Small World plus any of your, well, I guess light monsters in your hand, which is 23 of them, then you can search any card, any monster in the deck, including Lubellion, and so you don't really need more than one. You could bump it to 2, I suppose, but it worked perfectly fine at 1. We've got our 1 Druis Worm, pop that special summon monster when you send it to the graveyard. We've got the 1 Magnum Hut to get that search, and then we've got the 1 Saronir to dump a Bystial to the graveyard. So typically I would end up dumping the Lubellion so that you can summon it out of the graveyard on your next turn. And then our hand traps here, we've got double Ghost Ogre and double Nibiru. Ghost Ogre and Nibiru act as bridges for Small World as well as being decent hand traps, especially if we're looking to go second. So because we're playing both of them is why you have access to the entire deck through Small World. So I wouldn't cut them out. Maybe you could cut them to like 1 and 1, but if you draw 1, you're probably cutting yourself off from some type of a bridge. And so I like the 2 and 2 for that reason. And if you end up using them out of your hand, they're still good hand traps. The 1 Foolish Burial, because this is a graveyard-based deck. Triple Tenki, search a Beast Warrior, so you need it. You need the Torifun as quick as possible. Small World to search your entire deck. Double Call By. This made me super jealous. I really hope we get the second Call By back in the TCG at some point, just because it feels so much better to, like, you're not just going into every game like, man, I really hope I have the Call By or I'm going to get ruined by hand traps. Having the second one just feels a little bit safer. The 1 Regained, it sucks to not have the Etude, and so I considered not even playing Lubellion or this and made room for something else. But honestly, I still like it a lot just as an individual card. It kind of acts as like almost a floodgate additional draw by having that special summon effect when your opponent summons a monster, so you just put some big body back on board. And you're going to banish every single turn. So essentially what this says is draw 1 additional card each turn. And in this type of a deck, in this type of a game, that's always good. Then we've got the 2 Darkened Ruler No More to just shut down big boards if you end up going second. This could also be Forbidden Droplet, and I might even like Forbidden Droplet more. I couldn't decide between this or that. So I guess personal preference. I think I just like Forbidden Droplet more because it looks really nice in Ultimate Rare, but obviously that doesn't matter in Master Duel, so pick whatever you like there. And then Double Imperm, just a really good card going first or second. Being able to like go second even if you didn't imperm something, and then on your turn activate it in order to shut down a spell or trap or whatever back row is set that you can't see is also kind of a fun little play there. I just like the animation where it makes the whole row glow so that everybody knows that you can't use that row anymore. That's interesting. And then we'll get into this extra deck. So we have the 1 Ahashima. It's important for your combo. When it's summoned, it can summon 2 monsters with the same level, 1 from your hand and 1 from your graveyard, and then immediately Exceed Summon with them. This is going to summon Susanoo almost 100% of the time. I've never summoned anything other than Susanoo with this, at least not on purpose. Sometimes you misclick. I hate that about this for sure. And then if it's pointing to an Xyz monster, when that Xyz monster activates its effect, it lets you pop a spell or trap your opponent controls, and that effect is also very relevant because you're always going to load up that zone that it's pointing to so that you can start popping stuff. Then we played a little bit bigger of a link engine here, or link package here, I guess you would call it, because we don't have access to some of the Xyz monsters that I would have preferred to play. So we've got the 1 Phoenix to kill back row, we've got the Unicorn as non-destruction removal, and then we've got the access code talker. It's like one of the best link monsters in the game. It's pretty generic, and you can put a ton of monsters on this board, like overcrowded almost, so making it's pretty easy too. For our Xyz monsters, we've got the triple Susanoo, the heart and soul of the deck here. Detach 1 to take a Bujin and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Both effects can be relevant fairly frequently. You're usually going to be searching an extender to your hand or a crane to your hand to clear a board, or you're going to be sending one of your Bujingis to the graveyard in order to clear a board in a different way. Absolutely would not play this at less than 3. If you get into a grind game, having the 3, you're going to summon the 3. You for sure will summon 2 pretty much every game. I can't think of a game where I didn't summon at least 2 of them. We've got the 1 Kagutsuchi. This is the only Bujin monster that can protect itself, so that is relevant. It can also protect other Bujin. So on summon, it'll mill 5. It'll gain 100 attack for every Bujin sent to the graveyard that way. We play a lot of them, so you're probably gaining at least some attack. And then if a Bujin Beast Warrior would be destroyed, you can detach a material to prevent it from being destroyed, and it can do that for itself or for a different Bujin if you had, your Susan or your Amaterasu on there, whatever it may be. The 1 Tsukiyomi, this is going to be like just a mid-combo decision. If your hand is low or your hand is crap, being able to use its effect to detach, discard your hand, and draw 2, and you can discard the 1 to draw 2. Just nice to refill and give you a little bit more to play with. Probably the least necessary of them, but still really nice whenever you have the option to go into it and just kind of refill your hand a little bit. We've got the one Amaterasu because of your combo, so you'll rank up into this, use its effect to special summon a banished Bujin to your field, and then use that as a body to make the Gaga Magician to then get your Susanoo from the graveyard back onto the field and then overlay them for F-Zero. And I'll show you that combo at the end of the video, so if you don't know what I'm saying, don't worry about it, I got you. It also has a second effect to take one of your level 4 or lower monsters that is banished, put it back in your hand. That can be used for pretty much anything, but Torifun is probably a really good option, especially if there's some removal that they're going to try to hit this with, and you don't want to use your hair on this for whatever reason, or whatever decision making you're going through. You can just quick play, use this effect, put the Torifun back in your hand from the banish zone that you banished super early on in the combo to make the F-Zero, and then you have a follow-up Torifun for the next turn. We've got one Zeus because this is an Xyz based deck, and having a nice big board wipe that's easy to summon is always good. We got the one Gaga Magician. This thing, you need to play it because we don't have the Galaxy Photon Dragon. Once you get that, I would take this out and play that instead because it allows the requirements for the combo to be significantly easier. But the way it is now is the way it is now, and you can go F-Zero with Torifun plus any extender. You can go F-Zero plus Amaterasu plus Ahashima with Torifun plus any extender plus any other Bujin card, which is, it sounds ridiculous, but it's way easier to do that in this deck than you would think, just because of how interchangeable all the pieces are in the combo, and Small World giving you access to whatever you might not have drawn into. But what it does is you detach a material from it, target an Xyz monster in your graveyard, special summon it, negate its effects, and then you're going to overlay with it to make your F-Zeros. It also has the effect where if it's material on your F-Zero, which it will be, you can detach 2 materials from that monster and then target an Xyz monster you control and make its attack 4,000. And not that this deck has any type of trouble with creating big monsters or putting big attack on board, but it's something, and 3,000 is something that decks can put up usually. 3,500, like with your Chaos Angel, is a little bit harder to get over. 4,000, if you put something up with 4,000, you're pretty much going to be able to attack over most anything. So it can be relevant. And then we got F-Zero and F-Zero to make the F-Zero because this is Bujin deck.F-Zero. And then last but not least, a new card to Master Duel, I'm understanding, Chaos Angel. This thing is nuts in this deck. It gives you really good follow-up also, because if you do get stuck going first, because we don't have Etude, you're not going to make that Chaos Angel. You're just going to hold your Bystials. If you're lucky enough, you would have drawn the Magnum Hut or the Lubellion, or searched it with Small World if you didn't need to use the Small World for something else, and then you can still set up that Branded Regain. But if not, you just sit on your Bystial, you get another level 4 in your hand that you can summon either normal or special. It's pretty easy to get a spare extender in your hand, and then on your following turn, you'll Chaos Angel to banish something your opponent controls, and then because you're going to use a Bystial, which is a dark, and a Bujin, which is a light, it gets both its effects. So it's unaffected by monster effects activated by your opponent. It's the only synchro monster you play, so it doesn't extend to anything beyond itself. Also, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, so blanket battle protection. And the reason that matters is because Ahashima sits on the board pretty much at all times as like a conduit for your Bujingis, because a lot of the other monsters you summon will end up just not being Bujingis, and it's only got 1,500 attack. And so being able to blanket protect it, because you'll protect it once with the hair, maybe you could protect it with a Kagutsuchi or whatever, but having blanket protection with Chaos Angel makes it just that much better, I guess, that much more solid of a board. And that'll wrap this one up. If you play Master Duel, give this version of the deck a try. I like it, but I like every Bujin deck, especially the ones that I build, and so I might be a little bit biased. So you'll have to give me your honest opinion down below. As soon as I'm done talking here, I'm going to show you that combo I was mentioning in the deck profile. So thank you guys for checking it out. Subscribe if you'd like to see some more. Happy deck building. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.